Put yourself in uncomfortable situations. Staying positive, I think people don't realize it takes work. People quit when they don't know why they're doing it. I just didn't think anybody would ever hire me because I thought my talent was just riding a skateboard. So I just always had it in my head that if I wanted to go do something, I just had to do it myself.
Ho ho! How you doing, man?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm great. Listen, I like starting these now with either take us on a quick tour or show me something in your space that you've got a story on. That you can tell us a quick personal story.
We just got into this house. We've been here only 6 months. I'm trying to think of what I would have that has a story to it.
How about what's behind you? It's like a fingerprint. What's that painting?
Oh yeah, my wife got me this. It's God's fingerprint. So it's a bunch of verses from the Bible that make a fingerprint.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, right? But look, on my wall, right? Like this is how new we are. I don't even have pictures yet in anything, you know?
You got empty frames, dude.
Yeah, so we're not all the way in yet. We've been 6 months. We should be fully set, but we're not.
I love it, man. Well, last time we connected was about 1.5 years ago. We put the video on YouTube. It's got 60-something thousand views. And I love you moving from kind of professional athlete into successful entrepreneur because a lot of people don't make that transition super well. What's the update? Past 1.5 years, how's it been going? How's Commune Capital?
Okay.
Where's Mikey Taylor, the entrepreneur, at these days?
Okay, so the transition is getting easier. It only gets easier, which is good. I would say for me, the first year was the hardest. And then the second year was when you include social media, it makes it even harder because you have people that watch you that want to see you do one thing. So there was that second year where it's dude, we're not into this, and then finally you start catching traction and people are like, hey, you know what? I actually kind of like this. And then you still have your drop off, but I've definitely gotten to a groove where people know what I'm doing now and it's kind of being established, which is nice. And then as far as the company goes, transition through this. We had to move fully digital, had to change the experience from people looking at apartments. It was more on the management side, but you no longer walk units. It's all done virtually. So small change ups, and then we'll see big picture what changes as far as, economy goes and what that looks like for real estate. But all in all, it's been good. It's exciting and interesting times to say the least, right?
How long were you thinking about moving to entrepreneurship while you were, because your career was long, dude. Your career, and that's not just a flash in the pan, dude. So
I had a long one. Yeah.
How long were you thinking about, I don't know if the skateboarding thing is what I want to keep doing before you made the switch?
Well, it wasn't so much that. It was when is it going to end? Because skaters, we don't ever want it to end. We want to do this forever. But we do, our sponsors give us typically a 3-year contract. So that's how long we think we have, to continue to do it. And every time the contract ends, it's am I getting another one? So it was every 3 years. And for me, it's funny, man. I think because I didn't go to school and I skateboarded, I just didn't think anybody would ever hire me because I thought my talent was just riding a skateboard. So I just always had it in my head that if I wanted to go do something, I just had to do it myself, which is a weird way to look at it, but it ended up leading towards entrepreneurship.
And how did you get over I'm just a skater. I didn't go to school. I'm gonna now buy apartment buildings and raise funds. That's a shift, dude.
Dude, I started small. It's I started with companies inside of skateboarding in the world I knew. And there were, a handful of guys that I got to look up to as an example that own their own skateboard companies. And that was, I don't know, it felt like an easier transition because it was all skaters that were owning them. So I started there, and then that led into trying to get outside of kind of our world. And then with what I do now, it was hard because I was sitting at tables and I didn't know the language. I looked completely different. There was definitely this insecurity that came over me of am I even supposed to be here? And then you just start gaining confidence in yourself that, yeah, you can be here. Your just path to get here was different. But dude, it was just time. I just had to keep going through it and become comfortable in it.
And what keeps the motivation? Because a lot of people get into that boardroom and then they realize, oh my God, this is a different language. I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, why not quit when most people do?
I think people quit when they don't know why they're doing it. You know, and for me, the why was so important that the challenge was fine because I didn't want to stop until I accomplished it. So I think it's just, you know, my purpose was there, which then became my motivation through hard times.
I love it. Okay, well, since we're live, how about we throw it to some questions too from the audience? You down for that?
Let's do it.
How to stay positive?
You want me to answer that one?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
So staying positive, I think people don't realize it takes work. It's not something that's easy to maintain at all times. And the thing that I found that really helps is how I start my morning helps me maintain a better attitude throughout the day. And anytime I start and I kind of spend time being appreciative of what I have, being thankful, it puts me in a better mood throughout the day to stay positive because you're thankful for things instead of complaining about what you don't have. And whatever you're focusing on, you obsess over. So if you obsess over the good, it helps you stay in a good mentality. If you focus on the bad, that's when you have the challenge of being negative all day, I think.
I mean, just doing work that you love, right? Like, if you woke up today and you're fired up for it, it's easy to stay positive. Like, I got Mikey Taylor on my calendar today. Let's go, man. Come on now.
100%.
You put me in like accounting or something, I'm going to hate my life.
100%. You know what, man? The more and more I kind of do this, the more I lean on purpose. It's like when you have your purpose set, when you know what your purpose is, I guess pursuit of happiness becomes easier, or it's easier to stay in it.
And what would you put down as your purpose?
So I think there's 3 actually components you have to answer before you can figure out how to be happy, and it's identity, purpose, and destiny. Who are you? Why are you here? And where do we go after this? And, you know, if we're talking about identity, and that was the challenge for me when skateboarding left, because skateboarding was my identity. Identity now I view as I am Mikey Taylor, the father, husband, and person, and what I'm doing at the moment is just what I'm doing, but it is not who I am. My purpose, I believe, is to live a life that glorifies God in anything I do. And so with that, it's very simple. It's, okay, now I'm doing this company and this is real estate. Everybody I work with, it needs to be done in a positive, loving way. Anybody on social media, I hold myself or try to hold myself to an example that is good. And so in that, even through tough times, it makes it easy, I guess, for me to go, okay, this sucks. I want to be pissed off. I want to act bad. Well, how is my response? Is that going to glorify God? And if it's not, then that's probably not the response. And then that actually ends up putting me in more of a happy mentality or happy mood.
So the thumbprint behind you is a good reminder of the purpose.
Super good reminder, 100%. Because I struggle with that. I mean, when skateboarding ended, I felt like I lost everything, identity, purpose, all. Yeah. And that was the most miserable I've ever been in my life. And so even with all the techniques of trying to be happy, I couldn't be happy. So I had to like fall back on the principles of like, what am I doing here? What am I supposed to do here? You know, and then you start, once you know your purpose, then you're able to gauge if you're even doing it correctly or not. If you don't know why you're here, how do you gauge if you're doing a good job? You can't.
Next one popping up. I want to be an entrepreneur, but don't know what I should pick as my niche. Any suggestions?
That's a good question. So for me, I am more of a passion person. Like, I can't get into things I don't like. So I try to find things that I'm interested in and then figure out a way to build something around that. I think that just came from skateboarding. But with that said, because I'm like that, I don't know how to master, I'm going to go do this and then figure out how to like it. I have to wait for it to hit me, and there's kind of some challenge in that.
But I
Evan
think
actually could be able to answer that better than me.
It's not even that far off, dude. Like, I think you make the big decisions with your heart and the small ones with your head. Like, I think a lot of people are just too looking at, how do I go make money? And if you don't love the thing, you're going to get crushed.
Yeah, I like that. Well said.
Right? Like, if you're going up against people who love the thing, like if skateboarding's a strategy because it's hot, and you're going to go up against Mikey Taylor and people who like loved it, right? Or getting the real estate and Mikey Taylor loves it, and you just think it's a strategy. And all the due diligence and all the research that you're putting in to find the deals and the amount of hours to actually find a good opportunity, right? you're just going to get crushed if you don't love it.
It's a really good point. And look, starting a company is brutal. It is not easy. It is so hard. It's exhausting. It's challenging. And it's like the question you asked earlier. If you don't love it, you're going to be broke. You're not in a monetary standpoint. You're just going to be broken down. It's like you won't be able to fight through the times where it feels like the walls are closing in unless you love what you're trying to do. So I think that's a phenomenal answer. Yeah,
I mean, you got to love it first, and then you have to tie it to how can you bring value to other people.
That's right. 100%.
Right?
100%.
That's how you start winning. So it's more than like what business trying to start right now. I mean, you gotta actually love it. How do you recover from a painful situation?
That's a good question. Physically or mentally or both?
I don't know. Take it where you want. Go mentally, because physically we kind of know. The mental ones are the hard ones.
So this is the encouragement to it. When you go through a painful situation, you're being challenged. I think we automatically try to stay away from pain because we think pain equals something bad. But pain is good for us because we recognize what our limits are, or that we can actually take our limits to a further place. So in any painful situation, I look at it as a time to improve. And then every time I've gone through those situations on the other end, I've actually come out better. So in hard times, I just focus on what's going to happen, not the feeling I have right now. But it's not easy. I think it depends on what you're dealing with. But I guess simply put, time heals everything. So just hang on to where you're going to go after the initial moment.
I think service too, right? Like whatever you've struggled with, you could then help other people through. And your purpose comes from your pain. So if you could think about, hey, I'm going to get through this in a couple of years or 5 years or 6 months or whatever, and then I'm going to make sure nobody else has to deal with this same emotional trauma, right? I think of Candace Lightner. You know Candace Lightner?
No.
She started, so she was a real estate agent, mother of like 3 kids, single mom, real estate agent. And then her 13-year-old daughter got hit by a drunk driver and like died on the spot, like was flown, feet forward, and just died. And she became so enraged. They caught the driver, and the police said, he's done this before. He was drunk. He's not going to, the laws aren't in our side, and he's probably going to walk again. And she got so pissed that she started Mothers Against Drunk Driving. So she took that like crazy pain of losing a child to a drunk driver and knowing that he was going to walk to then
made a blessing out of it.
Yeah, like I don't want any other mom to have to face the same thing that I struggled with and launched Mothers Against Drunk Driving, right? So like that pain can define you in a negative way for most people, or for some in a positive way to say like nobody else, like through service, nobody else now will have to suffer the same way that I suffered.
That's well said. I love that. That's really well said.
Is it easy to balance work life and family life? Oh, the new dad here in the house. Welcome. We didn't say congratulations too, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So for me, it is incredibly hard. It is really, really hard. It's one of my wife and my biggest struggles is I am an obsessive personality. And when I do things, it consumes me. And that is not a good quality when it comes to having a wife or a husband. So for me, I just have to really, really, really work on it. I have to set reminders, and it's hard. I wish I had an answer for you on how to make it simple, but for me, it's not. It's an everyday struggle. The only good I found in making the situation better is putting time on the calendar to spend with my wife and with my kids. So just making it, I guess, schedule for me. But no, it is so hard for me. I don't know how it is for you, Evan, but it is hard for me.
Here's the thing, like we tend to schedule our business stuff, but we don't schedule our other stuff, our personal stuff, our relationship stuff. So I schedule stuff into, and I treat it as important as, like, if I'm going to cancel on my wife on something, it's like I'm canceling on this to say, hey, Mike, you can't do it. Like, you treat it as important. Yeah. One of the things my wife and I did is we try to figure out how can we have fun every morning. So instead of just like wake up and be productive, what would make it fun every morning? So we'll do a 10-minute meditation together and then go outside and take the dogs and just have fun. Like, that's 9:30 every morning. We're doing that before I come in and start doing interviews and everything else. Because it was just bang, bang, bang. And like weekends and evenings we'd have together, but how can we start the day doing something fun? So yeah, I agree. I mean, how old is your little guy now?
Our little guy is about 3.5 months. Our middle is 5. Our